communities. I want to thank Mayor Perkins for his support in light of what happened here at Selma High School on Thursday of last week. We did have an incident that occurred during lunch where students got into a fight, and one student had a gun and fired that gun. And needless to say, this was a traumatic episode for our scholars as well as our teachers and our families. And as a result of that, we know that this is not only a problem for Selma High School, but it's a systemic problem, and it's a problem within our community that we want to address collectively. So this morning we did have a meeting, and you can see some of the individuals who attended that meeting behind me now. And this meeting is the Safe Selma Community Alliance. And SAFE is Saving Adolescents for an Empowered Community. And we believe that it is extremely important, not only for our high school, but for this entire community, that we work together and that we bring our collective efforts together to ensure that our children feel safe, that our teachers feel safe. On Thursday, after this incident occurred, I did spend time here at Selma High School, and seeing the look of fear in my teachers' faces was just not okay. I called Mayor Perkins, and on Friday, we had a very in-depth conversation about solutions. And that's what this group is all about. We're prioritizing solutions, and we're looking for actionable ways to engage our community as a whole, and also to impact the safety and the culture and climate within our community. Today was just the beginning. We started a conversation that will continue. We looked at possible solutions. We looked at developing action steps, and in preparation not only for this press conference, but also for moving forward as a community. We asked some tough questions today. We asked, from our perspective, what is the culture of crime within the Selma community, and what can we do about it? We asked the leaders within this community, what are you willing to commit in order to impact this concern and this challenge? What are we going to do, and what are we going to stop doing that might help us address the systemic issues around safety within our community? Our goal is to ensure that every scholar within Selma City Schools and Dallas County Schools feels safe. We have the same goal for our teachers and staff, that they feel safe when they come to work each and every day. Selma City Schools is providing counseling for all of our teachers and staff and scholars who may need it, because we do prioritize their mental health and well-being. We also want to lift up that mental health piece as part of what needs to take place within this community, addressing mental health issues. And at this time, I want to turn the mic over to Mayor Perkins to share some more details about how this collective effort will look within our entire community. Thank you.
First, I want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Williams for her leadership as she has come forward to own this issue. We claim together ownership of this problem. It is not a school system problem exclusively. This is not just a city of Selma problem. This is a national problem. We've seen this all over the nation. But what we're doing here in Selma is we are owning it. We are claiming it, and that is the only way that we'll be able to resolve it and to solve it. And I'm just so thankful that so many people heard the clarion call, that we come together from their various positions and we have assembled here. This was a short notice. All of these people were called on Friday. They were notified on Friday, and between Friday and today, the room was filled with community leaders who are concerned and very, very passionate about developing solutions to what we know to be systemic problems, not just, again, within Selma, but throughout our nation. And so the key right now was for us to deal with two issues. One, an immediate crisis that we have within the school system to address this issue. The thing that happened here in the school system with the shooting, the firing of a gun and having guns and violence within the school system. But secondly, and equally important, is the long-term systemic issue of culture and crime, the culture and the conditions, the climate that we have that's contributing to crime in our community. We own it, we claim it, and now we prepare to work to resolve it. I think at this point, again, I want to turn and just thank all of you. I want to thank all of you because none of us can get this done alone. We have to work on this together. We are committed to an integrated strategy, developing one that will actually work for all of us. I think at this time it would be a good idea to just take a couple of questions from you. Dr. Williams, if you would join me, and we will just respond to any questions that you may have.
At the shooting, were the metal detectors not operative? How did the gun get into the school?
So that is part of our investigation to determine. We do have an open campus, so it's possible that the gun was in a book bag or some other way outside of the school and brought in at some point before lunch. But that is part of our investigation.
So the gun could have been brought in through another doorway instead of the front door?
Absolutely, it could have been.
How many metal detectors do you have?
We have 4 metal detectors, I believe, within the building.
But you have more than 4 doors.
We do, yes.
When you say open campus, what do you mean?
Open campus meaning that we have buildings within the back where our career and technical education classes and some other classes are. And so students do go from the main building that we're in right now to those buildings during the day for classes.
Dr. Williams and the mayor, whoever wants to address this, in the final analysis today, what was decided other than you claim ownership? What was decided to move forward?
So today we established several priorities, and I think the main thing that we made a decision about is that we've got to take some action. And so based on the comments from the group behind you, we are going to establish some priorities. And we talked about mental health. We talked about poverty. We talked about the fact that there's not enough activities for our scholars to participate in when they're not in school, and what can we do about that? And so our next step is to look at the priorities that were established today, form some subcommittees within this group, and those subcommittees will begin working immediately to look at some action items, to look at how do we upgrade our playgrounds and make sure that we've got extracurricular activities and sports. What type of summer programming do we need within our community and within our schools? How do we engage our parents? That came up, the family engagement piece and making sure that families are involved and supported in terms of what they need to do to ensure that our city is safe. We talked about gangs and what type of prevention and intervention strategies might be necessary. I had a meeting with a phone conference with Dr. Mackey, the state superintendent, and want to thank him and all of the Alabama State Department of Education for the support that they've provided, because they're also working with us to look at solutions.
Back to the metal detectors. Mm-hmm. Did a solution or strategies come up that will prevent that from happening again?
So that's definitely something that our local team will be looking at and working with the police department to determine some ways that we can make sure that our building is more secure and safe. We'll partner with the county school systems as well, and again, looking at the State Department of Education for that support. I've already talked to Dr. Mackey about scheduling a safety audit where we actually have someone come in, an expert come in, do a walkthrough of our building and determine what type of safety measures we can take to prevent this from happening again.
What about the 2 teenagers involved? Any evidence that they were part of a gang? What the squabble was about?
That's part of the investigation that's happening now.
Would they be expelled?
I can't speak to their individual. They will have due process, and of course that will be a board matter as to what happens at that point.
Congresswoman Sewell says that the city of Selma's school system will receive $21 million from the CARE Act. Can any of that money be used for some of the strategies that you guys have discussed today?
It's possible. We're still looking for guidance from the State Department of Education on the specific criteria for using those monies. And once we get those criteria, we'll be able to determine how we can use those funds to support our efforts.
Let me speak to that as well. One of the things that's important is that when you look behind you, you see representatives from the county school system as well as the city. You see probate Judge Nunn was here earlier. He had a hearing. So you have representatives from the county and from the city. And when you look at collectively what will be coming in the Rebuild America Fund, you're looking at $20 million from the to the county, $21 million to the city school system, $7 million to the county government, $3 million to city government. That's $50 million. And so we need to really re-engage and really think how we can collectively use these resources to solve these problems. And the other thing that is really important is that we understand that we have two unique environments that we must address simultaneously. One, the COVID environment. How do we address these issues in this current environment, this very unusual, unprecedented environment with COVID-19? And then how do we address this as we move forward in post-COVID times?
Dr. Williams, you had designated today, and I guess moving forward, going back to virtual learning. How long will that last?
I'm going to meet with my teachers and talk to them and get some insights from them on that. I did speak to Principal Pritchett over the weekend, and many of the teachers are concerned that they want the students back in school because we do know that face-to-face learning is important. So I'll work with the teachers and staff here at Selma High School to make that decision.
So until further notice?
Until further notice, absolutely.
What prompted you to decide to go back to virtual after the shooting? Why was it that you decided it was necessary to do that?
Just looking at my teachers' faces, seeing the fear and concern that they had, it was a traumatic event, and I do want to make sure that they understand that we prioritize their safety.
Were there teachers, within a 30-foot radius, if you will, of the situation? I know there were students, obviously. Were there teachers nearby who could have been hit?
There were teachers and students, as well as staff members that were in the room when this happened.
You mentioned gang, the possibility of gang activity. Was this, has this been determined to be that?
That's part of the investigation, but I'm not privy to that information at this time.
Mayor, I have a question. This probably falls on the category, maybe the superintendent, I'm not sure. I know there's an investigation going on, trying to get to the bottom of what happened, what, where, and all that. Can you elaborate where the school resource officer was at the time? Did he or she do everything that was possible to try to prevent this?
So we don't have a school resource officer. We do have several security officers, and they were engaged. And, I commend our staff here at Selma High School because they did engage in the way that would be appropriate for what took place.
So no concern on your part, whether it be the principal, which you publicly commended, or the security officer, they did everything correctly?
Absolutely.
No one was shot. None of the students either. None of them.
Gratefully, no one was shot and no one was injured, and so we are extremely grateful for that.
Is there a bullet hole in the wall?
I'm not sure. Not that I'm aware of. All right, thank you all.
I'm sorry, one more question. Okay, after today is April 4th, I guess. When would be the next meeting, if you will, to determine how much progress you've made and all that? The meetings such as this, is it 1 month from now?
So this larger group will meet monthly, but there'll be a number of smaller committee meetings between now and this time next month. So we will definitely give some progress updates as we move through this next month.
So is it fair to say at the beginning of the next school year, there's going to be significant changes in security, if not before the end of the school year?
Absolutely. All right, thank you all so much.